Alright, what's up YouTube? It's been a while since I've released a tutorial, but now I got some free time during the summer, so I'm gonna do a couple sound design tutorials for you guys. The first of which is gonna be about stereo separation and what the fuck is stereo, because a lot of people don't really understand it well enough and it shows. But if you really have a good understanding of how to make sounds really spread or really compact, or whatever you're trying to do, it can really help your overall music output. So, for just to get to it, I already have 5 samples here. They're all kind of different. The first 3 are found sounds, and the next 2 are hi-hats. Something to note about these, if you notice, the first 3 are stereo samples, so they have 2 channels of audio. So there's 2 channels of information. Yeah, the second 2. They're mono, so there's only 1 channel of audio. So pretty much what it does is it sends the exact same thing to left and right. So let's give you guys a little quick listen of what we're going to be using. Yeah, so some pretty simple samples. These are some found sounds. These are some pretty dry hi-hats. But we're going to go through a bunch of techniques that I use to really throw these like centered sounds, make them really wide. And for starters, there's a really simple way to do this. So I'm gonna go ahead and drag, let's see, yeah, get myself a sampler. Nope. Drag them down in here, and you can just drag the sample into the sampler. Okay, so next thing I need is some MIDI to start triggering this. So here we go. So select the area, Control-Shift-M is the hotkey to make the MIDI clip. Double click it, and I'm just gonna throw. First off, I'm gonna make the grid 16ths, and then I'm just gonna throw it on. So I'm just Control-D to duplicate the notes out, so we can have a little look at that. And I'm gonna select the MIDI clip and Control-L to loop it, so we can just kind of hear what it sounds like. This is a mono sample that we're using right now, so it's gonna sound really dry right now. It's right in the center. So we want to fix that. So this is the first technique I'm gonna show you guys is delaying one of the channels by a slight amount. So first, you only really need one device, which is the simple delay. It's a great device. Love this delay. First off, you're going to want to take the sync off, turn it all the way to 100% wet, because you don't want any of the dry signal to come through to get the strongest output. And you're going to bring them down to 1 millisecond, and you're just going to throw one off by, I'm going to do around 15 to 30 milliseconds. Just got to listen to it to see what's right. I'm going to try 22 with this guy. And now when I play it, you can hear it's very, very stereo. So pretty much the left channel is just being delayed by 22 milliseconds. So it gives this dissonance between your ears, which is this really intense kind of stereo effect. There's a couple things you want to take note about this though. They take away power from the center, so it's kind of a weaker signal. So the sound's going to be weaker when it gets brought down to mono. But and the second thing is the channel that hits first is going to sound much louder. So if we listen to it now, well, actually in this case left is going to sound louder, but you're going to have a very discernible louder channel, so it's not really an even balance between the two. You can work around it to kind of fix that, but just be aware. So that's we're going to call this delay. Let's call it stereo delay. Yeah, it's a very quick stereo delay. So that's one way you can make something stereo, and that works for a lot of things. The next way I'm going to show you guys is I'm just gonna use, I'm gonna duplicate this track, but instead I'm gonna get rid of this guy. And then I'm gonna bring down, let's see, who should we use? Yeah, it's kind of like a thunk sound. This is, notice this is already a stereo sample, so what we're gonna try to do is just make it even more stereo, per se. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just dragging up and down to zoom in right here so I can get right on the front. And I'm gonna go ahead and 0 is deactivate clip, so just it's a great hotkey to know. So now let's see what it sounds like. Yeah, let me turn down this channel so we're not clipping. Alright. And I'm gonna go ahead and just put a limiter on the master so I don't have any clipping problems. Alright, so right now this is a pretty decently stereo sample, but I think we can do better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab we're going to be in the audio effects tab, and I'm going to grab an EQ, and then I'm going to go ahead and group it. So Control G once you select it, and now I'm going to duplicate it. So you could duplicate a chain the same way you can duplicate anything else in Live, so just Control D. And what I'm going to do is throw these, so this is going to be all the way right, all the way left. And so this is where you split the signal and you process it differently on either side to make the overall sound feel like larger. So pretty much once you throw you hard pan it is what some people call it, you can do anything to the channels, and the more you change, so the more that's different between the right and the left, the more stereo it's going to sound. And something else, I don't know if this really affects anything, but I want to get it. This is if you want to use mono plugins, which I sometimes do. So I'm going to go ahead and make this left. So what this utility does is it takes the left channel or the right channel, and it just makes it mono. So now if I listen to this, or if let me see, if I get a saturator, for example, you'll be able to see this is it's the same signal, but it's just plopped in the middle. So now that we've got that, let's see what we can do. So also, if you listen to just one that's on the left, or excuse me, right, and this is the left. So first off, I'm just gonna EQ them a little bit differently, you know. Maybe throw in some 1K, drop down here, and then kind of do the opposite, you know, leave a little bit more down there, and then boost around the middle, and then kind of duck down the high. You kind of want to keep the highs similar, because you'll lose the glisten, and your ears will get kind of confused if you take away too much of the highs. It's already getting a little bit more crazy, but I think we can do better. So I'm just gonna throw on a saturator. Why not throw some overdrive on the other channel? And yeah, I'm gonna do this before the EQ. I'm gonna drive this guy with some, let's see, sinoid fold. Why the fuck not? And just, I don't want to be too aggressive with the overdrive. Can get out of control pretty quickly, so be very, very careful with that. Yeah, so this is without. Getting a little bit more stereo. This is a great time to use some other plugins. One of them, I'm a huge fan of the One Knob series by Waves, especially the brightener. So if we listen to it, the overdrive is really making that side a lot brighter. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this guy in here. And also, this is adding a lot of volume. Yeah, it's going to take a second to load it. So I'm going to go ahead and tune back the channels, so it's a little bit less, it's going to sound better simply just because it's louder. So we're not looking for loudness right now, we're looking for stereo separation. try him on the other. Just kind of brought it out a little bit. I don't know if it was a huge addition to the sound, but it's definitely a strategy that'll work. So, for example, if we do it with throw the mono sample in there, we're still going to have this dramatic, not so dramatic here. Let's see if we can make it a little bit more intense. So our left channel is a little bit weak right now, so let's drive him a little bit harder. So definitely getting some interesting stuff. So we can call this the hard pan split. So this is this works great on synths actually. If you want to make a synth really fat, you know, in the mix, this is a great way to like expand it, and you're not limited to just, you know, these two. For example, you could go like that and say -30. And say maybe 30, and so you can have a second group, you know, -9. We go in here and change the parameters a little bit, you know, kind of fuck everything up a little bit more. Okay, so we're throwing that left, so we want to do that right, and then -3. Alright, so I'm just screwing around with these a little bit more, make it a little bit different. So soft clip, sure. Yeah. Yeah, it looks like our right's getting a little bit crazy, so we're gonna drop him down. Just alright. So that's the hard pan split. It's kind of an interesting way. So the next one, the next trick I'm gonna show you guys is it's one that I haven't seen too much anywhere else. It's something that I'm a big fan of using, and it's pretty unique to Ableton Live. So if you're a big fan of Ableton and you want to stick it to a friend that uses Reason or Logic or something like that, this is something that is pretty much impossible without Live. So what I've done is I've created two audio tracks, and so what I'm going to use now, so we can just listen to the sample. Go ahead and remember 0 is deactivate. So got this kind of click sound, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to hard pan the channels themselves. So these channel strips I'm going to throw in. If we listen to it right now, not much different, but the secret for this one is we're going to warp the samples, and that doesn't seem too exciting, but if you go down into the sample clip by double clicking on the sample, you get this warp. You have all these choices. So the idea is I'm going to get two different types of warp, two different warp engines to change the samples, and then the next step is to say change the transposition so the warp really has a discernible effect. So let's give it a listen. Yeah, already kind of pretty noticeable, and so I'm actually gonna throw in some saturation so we can get a little bit more. Yeah, a little bit more. Let's see what's going on. Okay, so I'm gonna give him 5 dBs on either side. So this is really going to make it obvious what's happening. So it kind of almost drifts to the left. So this works in either direction. So if we go down to -12, yeah, so the bottom one, this tones, is kind of really messing it up. So we can just go ahead and try texture. Or complex. Yeah. So this one's going to need a boost because Beats is designed this warping algorithm is designed for percussive hits. So now that I'm gonna boost this channel, so now we hear it. Yeah, some kind of crazy stuff going on. And then this is the next step of this. I'm gonna go ahead and make 2 new channels, and much like the hard pan, you can do the same thing. So I'm gonna say 30 to the right, and a minus 30 is 30 to the left. So I'm gonna go ahead and shrink those up, and don't need to see any of that. Just clean it up a little bit here. So this is a cool little trick. If you select a bunch of things by shift clicking, you can actually shrink and zoom them to whatever you want. So what I'm going to do now, take this sample, drop them down, and do even more different kinds of algorithms, and hopefully this will get some crazy stereo. Yeah, interesting shit going on here. Something else that's you can do with this, so I'm gonna go ahead and take away these lesser leans. We don't need them for this. I'm gonna freeze this track. So what that means is I'm rendering the audio for both of them. And what I'm going to do now is simply drag it down to the next one and then rewarp it. So we can make even more crazy different sounds by doing this. So I'm going to say, how about, what did I do for the first one? Textures. So let's do tones for this guy. And now if we get rid of these guys, hard pan these guys. Yeah, so now we just got some even a little bit more. So I'm gonna pop it back up to 12. So that's gonna return it to the original frequency. Yeah, it's madness, super stereo. So this is one of my favorite tricks to making vocals and shit really pop. This works great on vocals because some of the algorithms like tone and texture are better suited for, you know, smoother attack sounds like vocals. So we'll call this hard pan warp. No, yeah, warp. Yeah. So that's yet another technique that you can use. Something that really bugs me when I see people, so we'll have this sample, you know, I'm gonna go ahead and get another sampler, and when people, it's not necessarily wrong. You always got to be aware there's no such thing as wrong in music. Everything goes. If it sounds good, that's the best. But for me, when I hear people do this, this is a pretty. This is something also that can be useful. If you press M in the sampler, it layers the two samples on each other, so you can see how different they are. So how stereo they already are. So these are they got some differences going on. So if we listen to it, pretty mono. It's technically a little bit stereo, but it's nothing crazy. And so, like I was saying, the thing that really kills me is when I see people do this pump up the width, like, oh yeah, it's gonna make my shit sound really wide. It's like, no, that doesn't really work. This width thing, I'd say don't really go more than like a 150%, because by that point you're gonna have all these phasing problems. And if you don't know what I mean when I say phasing problems, that's when notes stack up on, or wavelengths, or the waves themselves cancel each other out, and you have all these, you lose the sound that you're trying to play. So it's kind of destructive. So the utility is fine, and this is the same. If I'm sure you guys have seen this before. Let's see. So tools like the flux tool, you know. You also have this width slider here, but be very careful with that. It's can be pretty destructive. So there's a couple more you know, tricks that I can show you guys. One of them, it's kind of working off the pan, hard pan thing that we were doing in the beginning, but it's using reverb. So most times putting reverb on drums can pull out the stereo. You see this little stereo knob, and if I pull up a third party reverb, let's see, it's one of my favorite ones, the Lexicon. They make some fantastic reverb. You'll see also that there's a tail width right here, so that can add some stereoness or whatever you want to call it to a sample. But something that works great is just doing the same hard pan trick except with reverbs, and just totally change the way each reverb is. So I'm gonna go ahead and kill the stereo on both of these. It's kind of gratuitous. Make one mid. Let's make this guy high quality. Make the delay times different, you know. Change all these parameters up in here. So yeah, and so this is great because then you could just make a dry channel and then make these 100% wet, so it really like plops on the, you know, just kind of make everything different. Let's see, low cut, and also it's good practice to cut the low end of this kind of stuff. You want to save your bass from getting muddied up. So I'm just dragging and holding down Control to copy the whatever, you know. So let's see what this sounds like. So we got right now, this is with nothing, and I'm gonna go ahead and turn these down so it's not too ridiculous. Yeah. So now this is with the reverb. Yeah, so you can definitely hear one of these channels delaying a lot longer. So I'm gonna go ahead and boost the left a little bit so it can compete. Yeah, so what this does is just it kind of throws, oh, not -16, -6. It just gives a little bit more flavor in the stereo kind of range. This is another one that I love to use if I'm gonna try to make a hi-hat, you know, a longer effect. So that's so we already got 4 right here. So that's cool. Yeah. All right. So these 4 that I showed you are kind of working. These are pretty unique, you know. They're working off of these hard panning and group racks, or audio effect racks. The next ones I'm going to show you are kind of they're more intuitive, I guess you could say. So first off, let's just move this out of the way, and I'm just going to bring this guy down here, just straight up audio, and yeah, we got these guys. Super mono, but just in your audio effects, there's several different plugins that can add stereo just with one unit. For example, let's see, Chorus itself. Chorus is an interesting one. It does something similar to the stereo delay. It messes with the delay between each channel, and this Chorus is great because it adds more like smooth at points kind of you know, stereo, but sometimes it can get really, you know, strange sounding if you do it like too much. Another one that's good is a flanger. So if you listen to this, This one kind of manipulates the two channels, does some crazy shit. You have a lot of modulation opportunities here, and these are all great to use in these hard pan scenarios. Like, so feel free to use flangers and shit in there as well. And let's see what else we got. Ping pong delay, that's all good. Yeah, phaser is another one. This is a yeah, let's see. Actually, might be thinking of the in Reason terms, and that could work. So these are all the phaser and the flanger and the chorus. You know, those all work well in live. Something else you can do is a unison. There's not really a good unison in live. They don't have a built-in one that's really good. That was something I really missed from Reason. So the Reason users out there will know the little red unison unit, and Reason is amazing. And this is a great place to use third-party plugins. There's a bunch of really good unison units out there. I'm actually going to show you a distortion unit. So some of you guys, might already have this. It's a great distortion unit if you're looking for one. It's pretty crazy plugin, and they just released the second installment of it. So this is Isotope Trash. If you're really looking for high-end plugins, Isotope is the place to be. And you have all kinds of distortion parameters, but that's not what I'm going to be focusing on. I'm going to use this convulse, whatever. And within this one, this is kind of this is for mimicking cabinets. Was originally the main function of this part of the program in the Isotope or the Trash 1. But you'll see you have these two parameters here, so separate. These are great for just this kind of throwing stuff wide. So I'll just go through a couple of them. So these imitate certain speakers and cabinets. So if I turn up the separation, this is doing something similar to the stereo delay. Just a slightly different, it's delaying the channels, and you can really hear it if you turn it up. So when it's at 30, you can hear the wobbling because one is hitting before the other. But this is great around these ranges. Can really make a sound pop. And something also you can do is you can fuck with the mix down here. So this means only a little bit of the channel is going to get stereoized, with right here, yeah, adjust the stereo balance between mono stereo and double stereo. So this is I work more with the separate. Width it's kind of similar to the utility width, but if you're looking for another way to make stuff stereo, definitely try out the separate and Isotope. And so these are just a couple of ways that I make my sounds just really pop in the stereo field. And so don't think you're limited at all. And these, you can use these in any kind of combo of ways to really make your sound pop. So hopefully this was a helpful tutorial for you guys. Use and enjoy, and just stay posted. I'll be posting more stuff. So take it easy.